Alrighty, welcome back. We are now at the B section of the tune, which is 8 bars long, and we're going to be in the key of B flat major. It's a real nice jazzy sounding color change, and what I'd like to do first is just show you a basic voicing that we're going to be using. I do a couple different hammers and bass things, but I just want to show you the ground that we're on. B flat major 7. Okay, so if you were to play a bass note there, first fret. Okay, and if you bar your first finger, try this. Try barring it on all your strings. And if your guitar is uncomfortable to bar at the first fret, this is something that a guitar repair person can help you out with. You can actually have the grooves of the nut. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but here we go. You can have the grooves of the nut cut just a tad deeper, because once you're above the first fret, it doesn't really matter. But here, if the strings are a little too high, it makes it harder to push down. So you want to make sure that your bar chords at the first fret are comfortable. Okay, so this is our basic chord. And you also want to be able to switch to the F bass note since it's the 5th. So I would suggest getting that under the finger. And then another thing that I do is sometimes I do this without the pinky on the D. So it's kind of what's called an add 9 kind of sound. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. And then you can have some fun hammering that note on. The musical idea of this is we're going to do 2, 3, 4, then go up to the 5th fret, and then bar the top 5 strings. This is going to be an F sus chord, so it's kind of like a 5 chord. I'm just showing you the musical idea. Again. Third time, and then A sus. So it's simple idea. Now this little melodic thing that I'm doing, blah, 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 is from the George Benson version, not so much the Jose Feliciano version. He does some other kind of arpeggio something to just... This key change is more or less a breath of fresh air, a nice splash of color, and a chance to sort of let up off that minor sounding groove from the other sections. Let me show you how I get into it. 1, 2, ready, and right. Now watch. Show you those voicings just so we get the technical thing out of the way first. 5th fret, bar, top 4 string. Okay, now I play that. That might be a little tricky for you. Why don't you just play like a G? It looks like a G chord. It's actually A sus. And then the voicing that we have been doing. I don't really accentuate that note too much, but It's just kind of there quietly. Let's talk about the musical stuff that's going on when we go to the B flat change. Since the melody is boom and it's ringing, I try to get a boom, boom, boom in the bass. Okay, so let's look at what I do on the first one. I hit it an eighth note before, so 1, 2, 3, 4. See what I just did? This is the first time we hit the A, the B flat. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, now you'll see when we get to the F sus, I have some back strikes written in. This is just an option to go. Sometimes I'll even do that, and I'll let go of everything else on the first finger so that note comes through. That's one way to phrase it. When I say one way to phrase it, it means the rhythms that we give to the melody. Ba, 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 ba. That's right on the beat if we do it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then another time I go blah, ba, 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 dang, ba, 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 da. This is real 70s kind of phrasing. You can have a little bit of fun with that and jam with it. It's wide open. It doesn't need to be any one phrasing. It should be loose. You know, you might have to access inside yourself that feeling of improvising, even though we're in a real limited context. But if you hear the original recordings, you'll hear all these wah-wah guitar rhythm parts, conga drums. So we want to bring that looseness across as much as possible. Okay. So sometimes I'll hammer that, and I'll even do, I'll even go down to the low F. And I'll be honest, I have to be careful on this section of the tune when I'm on a gig, because sometimes the adrenaline is flowing on a gig, and I squeeze the guitar and muscle it a little bit harder than I probably should, and it's easy to mess up when you have these very simple bar chords. Okay, so stay loose on this section. You know, don't squeeze the guitar as hard as possible. At least that's what I have to tell myself. I have to say, Adam, don't squeeze the guitar too hard on this part. Okay, so let's take it again, nice and slow, medium slow, from the bum 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 bum, that thing in the section before. Okay, a 1, a 2, ready, and. All right. So once we're done with this section in the key of B flat, and we come back with we're navigating our way back to the key of D or B minor, depending on how you see it. We're going to go into an improvised solo section. And it's not really improvised. It should sound improvised, but it's going to be different stuff over the first 2 sections. All right, so let's go on to the next video. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you what I do to simulate the sound of an improvised jazz solo over the chord changes and structure that we've been using for Affirmation. Okay, I try to keep this pretty simple, at least idea-wise, and I try to throw in some quotes. I do a quote for Sweet Georgia Brown, and I do a quote of the bass line for Rapper's Delight, just to keep listeners on their toes. You know, this is not about going into jazz explorations. This is about entertaining the people and keeping the structure clear, which is especially hard to hear once you go into single lines with no bass line or chords under them. Okay, so I'll try to explain this in the most understandable way possible. Let's start on beat 1, and just please follow, and then I'm going to show you how we get into this, because there's some syncopated stuff getting into this. So this is on beat number 1, right on an E minor chord. We're going to have this, and then we're going to do some bluesy riffing in B minor with an E bass note. Okay, so let me show you the fingering first. Pull off, and then I do 2 pull-offs. You could slur the third finger. Okay, and then we're going to go to one of our B minor 11 chords. So it's the phrasing, and I'm doing this with bare fingers the first time. The phrasing is going to sound like this. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, so you see I added the bump, after playing the top note. And that's our melody. Let me play this for you one more time. That's the voicing we're using. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, let me show you what I'm doing there. B minor, and I'm just hammering that top note on. You could say that makes it a B minor 9, but I'm just thinking about the melody. Now, on this biddle-a-doo, if I can get it with a backstrike, I like the way that sounds, okay? But I can't always, so sometimes I pluck it. One more time. 1, 2, ready, and. We do it again. And sometimes I change the voicing here. Look at what I'm doing. Okay. Same thing. Then that's a C13. Now, I'm pretty good at playing 2 notes with my pinky there. If that's uncomfortable for you, what can you do? Yeah. Try to get it. I don't know how else one could play that chord. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is backtrack and show you how we're going to get into this section, because we're coming out of the bridge, if you recall the last video. This thing, all right, with the B flats. Now I have a syncopated scale. It's the same thing that you've been doing on the beginning of the tune. those same notes, but we're going to just do them on offbeats. So it's going to sound like this. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, 2. See how we got into that? 2, 3, 4, 1. And I'll usually hit that by itself, and then I'll go bop to bop to bop in the bass. One more time. 1, 2. Okay. Let me play you that transition coming out of the bridge so you can hear where that little scale thing's going to fall. Okay. Last time. That was it. And then we're going to be in the next section of the solo. For those of you out there who are following my saga of this thing, the fingering, I don't get all this lush stuff that I would like. I have to go. Now I got my chord. There it is. And then another thing that I'd like to show you, if you are interested in this approach, sometimes it's too harsh to strum with the pick. It's too metallic, so I'll use like the back of a finger so I can get some flesh on it. It's not quite as bright as the pick. Okay. Okay, so that is the first section of the solo. So that's a nice little bluesy kind of riff to just get us established into some new material. And for the next part of the solo, we're going to get into some single line kind of stuff. Now, I'd like to add, if any of this is uncomfortable or awkward to play, you can leave it out. Or you can just play on chord changes. You can find stuff that fits your playing. I'm just showing you what I do in case you're interested and you're up for the challenge. But this doesn't have to be in there. Again, like I'm always stressing, the main thing is that you play your groove or a variation on what I'm doing in your way when you perform this. Okay, so let's go on to the next section of the solo. All right. All right, welcome back. We are now on the solo section, bars 9 through 16. And this will correspond to the part where we get more chord changes in the tune, where it goes bum, 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 bum. It's going to correspond to this. Okay. It's going to fit on those chord changes, even though it's going to be single note melodies. If any of this is too hard, please simplify, simplify, simplify. And if it's uncomfortable, just do something else. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to play it slowly for you. straight through, slowly, one time, and then we'll break it down, okay? A 1, a 2, a ready, and... Okay. Now, I don't know if you could hear the chord changes that this was suggesting, but here we go. By the end of this video, hopefully you will. Okay, so I start by going... So what am I doing there? B minor chord, then I let go of it. So the rhythm is... Okay, just like that. So if you can grab a chord there on the first one, remember we're coming out. Now there I'm just doing the B minor 7, B flat minor 7, A flat minor, A minor 7. You really shouldn't be getting the 5th string in that, which when you see me switch my left hand fingers to this 2nd and 3rd, that's because it dulls the 5th string, but sometimes it's just not practical to go here, so I do this. Okay. And then watch what I'm doing here. With bare fingers, it would look like... Let me explain what I'm doing. The chord has changed to D7, and I'm doing a D7 sharp 5. Originally, I wanted to do this more like a scale thing, but it helps to have the chord arpeggiate and have some notes ringing. So I go, okay. Sorry. And when we hit this note, we're starting to be on G major 9. So you can't see any G major 9 when I'm just playing that note all by itself, but that's what I'm hearing. These two notes are the same. They belong to this chord. So performance-wise, here's what's going to happen. Okay, now when we get to the G, watch what's going to happen. Let's do that slowly. A 1, a 2, a ready, and... Let me break that down. Ready, and... So, then 3rd finger. Okay, now all of this revolves around the fact that I've practiced a lot of jazz and I've practiced a lot of scales, and I'm pretty comfortable playing with my left hand pinky. Okay, so if any of this little noodly stuff is too difficult, you could just go you could go, or whatever. You can improvise something there that would fit over a G major, and you can make it super simple so that you're not getting stuck. Please don't get stuck here. This is a little section. What's going on this doesn't matter all that much. I'm just showing you what I do. Okay, so let me play that slowly, that riff on all the way up to G. A 1, a 2, a 3, and okay. Now, next, I play a riff on Sweet George Brown in the key of E, or on E7, I should say. We're not in the key of E, but we're on E7. And lately I've been doing that open because it just lays right on the guitar. I don't always, sometimes I go, but get a little color out of the guitar that way. So now, one thing that I like to do, I left out this lead in. I'll do a low E as the lead in to that riff. Don't worry, I'm going to put this all together for you so you can follow it. And it's in the tabs. So download that help file. Okay. Coming out of the G, a 1, a 2, a ready, and did you hear where that low E was? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the and of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we're home free. That's pretty much it. So A sus, and then I do. Okay, now that, if you can't do the thumb over the top, I would suggest this because you can strum across all 6 strings. I'm barring on the 5th fret and putting the 3rd and 4th finger down. Okay, and then that's not really the sound that I want, but I completely have mercy on those who don't want to play this chord. A nice thing about the A sus chord is that even if you just barely touch this E string, not pushing it down, but just with the side of your finger, it's enough to mute the low A string, the low E string, and then you can get the low A, and then you could go. Or, okay, so let me put this all together for you now up until those strums end. I'm going to play this nice and slow for you so you can watch it go by and listen one more time, okay? 1, 2, ready, and here we go. Didn't say it, but for this, I'm then bringing the first 2 fingers back. And you'll notice in the camera, my hand is on this real slanty position. That's what makes it possible to spread the fingers, because they're slanted. If you're playing too much in a classical position, you'll have to do very funny stretches. So, okay. One more time. 1, 2 from the C7. 1, here we go. Chicka chicka. Okay, and after the percussion, and then we're going to hit E right on one. Now I'm going to save the next part for the next video. Let's keep going to, this is now going to be the second 16 bars coming up of the solo. All right, let's go on. Greetings. Alrighty, so we are on the second 16 bars of the improvised solo. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. We're almost home free with not that much new material. Okay, so let's just recap the first 16. We had this bluesy thing over the minor chords, right? And then we had this, what we did in the last lesson, where we played on some jazzy changes. Okay? Now we're going to come out of it, and as you saw at the end of the video, we go. Okay, and I ended right on beat 1 on a low E, almost kind of hitting. I'm almost kind of hitting. I'm not just plucking, and I could do this with my thumb too. Okay, to get a real pop on that sound. And that is going to be the first note of what's sort of a quote, not exactly, but a quote of the bass line for Rapper's Delight, which is one of the first hip-hop songs and is real famous bass line. Also was in, originally it's from the Chic song Good Times, and then they used that in Rapper's Delight. And the reason I go to a bass line and something groovy is I'm trying to make it simple for the listeners who can't follow all that jazzy stuff. So we've just given them 8 bars of for some people that's a lot. So here's what it's going to sound like. I'm going to show you how to play it. Okay? That sort of brings it back into the zone of entertainment and foot tapping, rather than getting too up in the head with the jazz stuff. And again, I do that for the audience. So let me show you how I play this. Okay, then 1, 1, 2, 4, then 1. You can change fingerings if you like, but because I'm usually rocking out pretty hard, I tend to keep it on the low E string because there's a certain thickness in the sound and there's a certain brutality that I can play with where I don't need to pay attention if I'm getting the right string. And it sort of evolved that way since I originally was doing this with a bare thumb. I wanted it to be a no-miss situation. And I could imagine even now for this section that I would do maybe put the flat pick here in my fingers and still go if I wanted more of a slap bass kind of sound. There's a voicing here in between, which you can hit with the back of a finger. That's an E minor 9. I'm barring 3 fingers there. If that's too tricky, you could just play in any kind of E minor there. Here's another one. Bar your top 4 strings and okay. And then there's another chord that answers the B minor. I usually play just the top notes of that chord. Okay, so here goes, nice and slow, right on the Rapper's Delight thing, okay? Oh, boom, chicka, back, bang, bang, chicka, chicka, 1, 2, y'all know what to do. And I suggest as many downstrokes as possible, even if it means bump. It's funkier with more downstrokes. So, but if you need to do an upstroke to get yourself out of trouble, that's fine. And then I'm ending again with that C13 chord. Okay. Now, let me show you, we've got to go down to an A minor 7, but to keep things musically fresh sounding, I try to do a little bit of voice leading. I try to lower the chord, but then hang on to the B melody. So I'm going B minor 7, and then a D sus and a pull off. And I do this a little bit different every time, but that's maybe with a little less fullness in the chord, maybe with more syncopation. Okay. Okay. Then G major 7. Okay. I think I do something similar in Misty, if you've learned my Misty arrangement. So it can be a little bit hard to get out of the chord into a single line riff. But what I suggest, if you have trouble, do what's called a hinge bar here. So you're going, or even just for the first note. Then switch. Okay, then C13. But now watch, it's going to be a little bit different. So the first time it's with the B natural, because it's over a G, and then, whoops. See? Let me do that nice and slow for you so you can hear it coherently. Here we go. From the B minor 7, from the chords going down. A 1, a 2, y'all know what to do. Okay, now watch. We're going to outline a B7 chord. It's actually more like a scale. Open E, D sharp, C, open B. Again, a cross string thing to keep things sounding fresh and alive instead of, wouldn't sound very musical. And then we're home free if you've learned everything, because watch what happens. That's the end of the 16-bar second ending. Okay, and then we're going to go back to, then we're back in the tune. So what I'd like to do now, I know it's getting kind of long here, but I'm going to play through the whole solo one time really slowly for you so that you can hear the whole solo hang together. Okay? So we're coming out of the bridge the first time, the B section, right? The bang, bang, chicka, the boom, ba, ba, chicka, chicka. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, and then we're going to be back in the recap of the tune. So let's go on to the next lesson and do the recap of the tune and then on to the ending. All right. All righty. So at this point, we are at the recap of the tune. We've done 2 16-bar sections of soloing. And just like the tune form that we played, we had 16, 16, and then we're going to start the recap of the familiar material with this B section, B flat stuff. Okay? That's where the solo will lead us into. I'll demonstrate for you in case you didn't get it at the end of the last video. The solo is ending like this: 1, 2, ready, and. Right, and then it's just we're naturally. Right? But now watch. So I like to go after the B flat section for 2 more phrases like the first 8 bars of the theme. Okay? Even though that's not in the form. So let me reiterate. The solo is 16, 16, and then we have that B flat thing that's like a bridge. And now we're going to go back and do 2 phrases. That's the first one. the second. Blah, blah, ba, da, ba, 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 da, ba, da, ba, 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 do, ba, 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 da. And then there is going to come an ending. Okay, so it's the recap and the ending. How about I take it nice and slow from the end of the solo, once again, up until where we're going to do the ending. Okay, so taking it from this G major 7 in the solo. Ready? A 1, a 2, a ready, and... Now, bridge, recap. Now recap. And then that is going to be an end riff, which should be in a lesson on its own. So let's go to the next lesson where I'm going to show you the end riff. And if I can show that to you quickly enough, in the same lesson, we will do a form walkthrough. All righty, let's keep going. We're almost done. All right. Alrighty, so we're at the very last section of the tune, which is this very special syncopated bass line kind of riff. And it's got some tricky stuff in it. It's got some percussion. I'm going to show you how I do it with the pick. This is a thing that the flat pick really lends itself to. And so let's get started. This is 8 bars of funkin' out at the end of Affirmation. Now the first thing we'll need to tackle is there's an awkward left-hand fingering. It'll take a little bit of practice till you get some muscle memory. So here we go. 5th string, 4, 1. Okay, that's not so hard. So that's going to be on 1 and. So 1, a 2, a 3, and go 1 and 2, 3, 4. That's not so hard. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so that's pretty straight ahead. But now watch what we're going to have. Let me give you the notes first. O, 2nd fret, 5th fret. That's on the 6th string. Then we leap up to the 4th string, and then we come back for, okay? Now, it's got a funny syncopation to it. I'm going to play it slowly for you, okay? A 1, a 2, a ready, and okay, let's just try that again. Be-bop, da-bop-bop-bop, be-dun-dun-dun. And what I'd like you to do is, if you're using any kind of pick or thumb pick and you've got an opportunity to do downs and ups, I would like you to do down, 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 up, down, down, down. Okay, so the only one that gets an up is that E for now. Okay, 1, a 2, a ready, and okay. Now let's add on the end of it these notes, and I want you to play these up, down, down. so that we end on a down. That's the important thing. Ba-do-bap. A 1, a 2, a ready, and. See what I'm doing? Okay, so we're going to fill this in now with some percussion and some riffs. And I'm going to show you this last chord. I'm going to show you the last chord that I play. Is that in tune? Okay, so bar the top 3 strings, and then I like to play a G sharp there, 6th fret. Sorry about that. A B minor 6 chord. And I go shake it, do bang. And I also try to end that on a down. So if you're, even if you're playing with nothing, that it's down, shake it to bang. Okay, so let's add the percussion first. This is fun. Okay, so we're just going to try to put, after each one of these, put a hit. Okay. Now, before I used a pick on this, I would hit the guitar up here. Okay, but I'll lose the pick if I open my hand, so I'm just kind of doing it here now. Okay. That's on beat 2. 1, 2. Chicka, chicka. Now watch. Okay, now let me show you what I'm doing there. On the second time when I go, I do a slide up to the B, and I really have to concentrate on that. It's easy to go too slow. And I'm doing my 4th finger, and I'm muting all the strings behind it. So that way I can pluck across all the strings and only hear the note that I want. Okay? Second time we do the bass line, we do that. 3rd time is regular, and then the 4th time we're going to end on a B minor 6 chord. So that's, and I go shake it to bang. Okay, let's go through the ending riff part real slow now, just so you can watch it. You can watch it all go by. Okay, a 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, so that is the ending riff section. Okay, so we're about 6 or 7 minutes in on this. Rather than go longer in this lesson, why don't we do a full form recap on the last lesson? Okay, so here we go. Let's go on to the next video. All right. All righty, congratulations. You've made it through all the material of Affirmation. And in this video, what I'd like to do is do a slow playthrough of the entire piece. And I'm going to do like the sportscaster calling out the plays. I'm going to call out the different sections that we're hitting. And I'm going to try to keep the tempo down and slow so that you can watch my fingers. Now, I think on the rubato intro, I will use my right hand fingers. I'm going to have my pick in my mouth, and I think for the tune, I'm going to grab the pick. But remember, you play it however it's comfortable for you. Okay? So first thing I'm going to do is talk it down without playing, just so we get the picture. Okay? Rubato intro, which is the first two phrases of the song on the minor chords. Then we've got 16 bars going to the first ending. Then we've got 16 bars. We're going to call those A sections. 16 bars, a second A section, going to the second ending. Then we've got the bridge, the B section, in the key of B flat for 8 bars. That's one time through the tune. Then we're going to do the solo section. 16 bars on the first A section. 16 bars on the second A section. Then bridge, just like we played it in the top. That's the recap. Okay? Same thing, key of B flat. 8 bars, B section. Then we're going to do a recap just with the first two phrases, those characteristic sounds on the minor chords with the melody, the opening melody, and then the outro funky bass line that I just showed you in the last video with the percussion and the slide and the strums at the end. Okay, so it's basically like 2 times through the tune with a little bit on the front and a little bit on the end. So here we go. Intro. Okay, now we're coming up on the tune. Shwata da banga banga chicka da boom 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 chicka chicka boom boom chicka da boom boom da boom. Second A, now, sorry, I'm stopping. Second A section. Ready? 2, 3. Second ending. Going to the bridge, the B, in the key of B flat. To the solo. single line stuff. Now to the rapper's delight. Second 16. Now the walk down, changing. Recap, bridge. Recap melody. Outro. Chicken. Alrighty, so that's Affirmation. Of course, that's at a slower tempo for demonstration purposes, a little bit slower than what I'd play live. But I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy learning this. I hope I've explained everything as clearly as possible for you. And I can't wait to see your video, your version of it. It's quite a lot of information. I know it's going to definitely be some work for you. Again, the one point that I would like to make is, play the song, use my arrangement as a guide, but always have your feet firmly planted in what feels comfortable for you, playing-wise. There may be certain fingerings, either left hand, right hand. There may be certain chord voicings that just don't feel right. And if you try to do it the way I do it. And so please don't work those into the ground and work yourself into a frenzy. Just find a way around it. Pretend that you had to get on TV and play it, and you say, you got to find a solution that works for you. And that's going to be your best solution. So all you got to do is keep the melody out there and keep the groove in place. And that's 99% of it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoy this lesson. God bless.